Hey, what's going on, good people? It's Gardner Douglas, your Oyster Ninja, back with the fall season. This is going to be the first episode to drop in a very long time. It's been a very busy shucking season, so I guess that's a good thing. Um, and for your listening pleasures today, we're going to be talking about the last trip, not the last trip, but this past trip to Prince Edward Island doing the international shucking competition, the Raspberry Point International Shucking Competition. Such a great time. We had a Shuck Team USA for the first time, and today I have some of the gentlemen here that represented. Today we have Rutvik. He's the wandering shucker up in New York. Brian Clark, and then we got Chris Clark from Florida, and then we got the big bad boss. We got Mr. Josh from down that Cajun place. All right, so that was just a brief introduction. I'm gonna let y'all jump in any way you want.
I'm Josh. I'm chilling over here in Florida, hanging out, slinging oysters, baby, over at DCP. Call it short DCP for all the locals. That Cajun place for everybody else.
And Josh, you have competed in the National Oyster Shucking Competition, the Florida Shucking Competition, now the Prince Edward Island.
Yes,
Just give
sir.
give the folks a little bit of your stats.
All right, so right now, I'm number two in the state of Florida. I have been number one. I'm currently two-time third place in the U.S. Nationals. Hopefully, I can hold it down one more time or get a little bit higher up in the ranks. I'm going for number one, hopefully this year, but we'll see how it goes. I know there's a couple people on my way. I
It
know I'm
seems
looking at
like
you, Brian.
How you doing? My name's Brine Clark. I'm from Eustis, Florida. Currently shucking at my brother's oyster bar and restaurant called Tiki West Raw Bar and Grill in Tavares, Florida. We do right now we're doing mostly mid-Atlantic oysters and then Canadian oysters as well. Scratch kitchen. Everything's made from scratch. 95% of the stuff's all fresh made, and there's not a bad thing on the menu. I also sell oyster shells, save shells from going to the landfill, and then I clean and recycle them, sun dry them, and then ship them all over the continental US. And then I also stream part time on Whatnot, doing TCG cards like Pokemon and doing rips and just having fun.
Hi, my name's Chris Clark. I'm Eustis, Florida. Also, my restaurant is called Tiki West Raw Bar and Grill. My brother gave a good introduction there, so I'll leave it at that. Shucking accolades. I've been fifth the past 2 years in the U.S. Finished second and third in Florida. Um, I've won the Oyster Jam in Jacksonville, and then I finished second in way too many contests. So that's fun. But yeah, glad to be here. Glad to be with you guys.
All right, and last but not least, Mr. Rutvik.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Ritvik Patel. I'm out of New York City. I run the Wandering Shuckers Co. Uh, wow, I am in some company, man. I don't know how I find myself here. But this is so cool. Getting to PEI, getting to see all these guys shuck. This was only my sixth competition ever. Sixth time, sixth time being on stage, chucking oysters like this, and I have never had so much fun. So I'm excited to take this further. I'm excited to watch more people like this go. And just calling it out right now, Brian, that was insane. And you too, Josh. I have
I
never
appreciate it.
like that. That was so cool.
Yeah, that's exactly where I wanted to start. Let's go straight to the shucking competition. And I wanted to first of all, we're gonna congratulate everybody. I mean, we all did a great job. I think we represented the United States very well. I also think we represented ourselves very well. Nobody got out of control, nobody got in any trouble, which is always an issue when you're thinking about shuckers because you never know what a shucker is gonna get into. Man, I feel like we're gonna skip over the shucking competition for right now. I'm gonna ask y'all, and you can jump in. Anybody can answer this. What do you think? What makes a good oyster shucker?
Great personality, hard work. I mean, you got to train every day. You got to have technique, technique. And then that's what I train all my shuckers to: technique, and then we worry about speed later because they're all worried about, I want to be as fast as everybody else. It's like, slow and go, man, and then speed will come. So I mean, it's all about technique when you're first starting out and telling people how to do it. Because I mean, you can have a great oyster and a bad oyster shucker and everything go wrong, man. I've seen it happen many a times at many a restaurants I visited, and they didn't know who I was.
Josh, I want to talk to you real quick about your technique because when I watch you shuck, it's like it's amazing. Honestly, I'm in awe when I watch you shuck, and for the simple reason it looks like you barely touch the top shell and it runs away from you actually, and then you disconnect the bottom adductor muscle, which like butter, like less than water, like I mean less than butter but water, like you you're in such a flow. How does that happen? Is it the knife? Is it you? Is it skill? Is it practice? What is it?
It's everything, man. I mean, I practice all the time. I mean, at DCP, I try to get the oysters we're going to do at the next competition, showcase them, and then practice in front of a crowd. The bar will be rooting, try to get in the zone, always be in the zone when you're trying to do stuff. And technique, I practice technique every day. Uh, and then it's like when I was up there, it just all turns off, and all you see the oyster. And it's like it's game time.
I love that, man. Anybody else want to tune in on what makes a good oyster or professional oyster shucker?
I haven't been doing this long, but I've bartended a long time and I've served a long time in New York. And I think a good oyster shucker is, of course, has to serve them perfectly. That is just the bare minimum of what we do. But is a storyteller. It's a connector. It He or she knows what they're serving, where it comes from, what it means, the seasonality, the flavor profile. There's a lot to this little thing that we do, and we are the final step before it reaches the guest. And if we don't know much about what we're serving, I think that speaks for itself. So I think a storyteller is what we are. We are the connector between the beginning and the end, the final step. We're very important in this industry, and I think there should be more of us who are doing it at this high level and connecting more people.
I honestly love the way you put that. And I was telling a bunch of people while we were in Canada that I feel like personally the oyster shuckers are carrying a heavy load, and I think that's how I referenced it as far as in this oyster community. A proper oyster shucker. I feel like we are doing a lot of the heavy lifting that and nothing against anybody and what they're doing. But when it comes to like oyster farmers, I think oyster farmers could be doing a lot more as far as educating people about their product. I feel like
Sure.
even the distributors should be doing a lot more. You got to think about a distributor literally has all the product, but they only care about the sales.
Yep.
You know, there are some distributors who are doing it properly where they will take trips out to the oyster farm. They will do fishing trips. They will do educational portions where they bring in the farmers and have the farmers talk to the buyers and the restaurants. So that's great, but not all people take that same seriousness. So I think that Oyster Shucker is doing a lot of heavy lifting as far as informing the customer, informing the oyster slurper, oyster eater about where this oyster is from, how it's harvested. You can find more here. You can pair it with this. I mean, like Rutvick was talking about a bartender. Oyster shucker is all of that. A oyster shucker has to be informed and knowledgeable about farming practice, what pairs well with it, um, safety regulations, all of that. And it all falls on the oyster shucker. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Rutvick here. You talked about, this was your sixth competition on the big stage. Like for you, first of all, I want to give you props because I don't know anybody who came in the game like you. I mean, just all in. and I give you props, man. I really do. But on the big stage, this is your sixth competition. What's your mindset like?
I was very nervous this time around because this was huge. Like, I mean, I've been to nationals, I've been to a couple other competitions in one in Texas, some locally in Maine as well, but this was another level. And before the competition, watching you guys do your reps, it was nerve-wracking a little bit. But once you're up there, at the end of the day, I do that every day, right? I shuck oysters every day. I know what I'm doing. I just have to get up there and try and do it a little faster. So I'm still getting to the point where I'm trying to work on my technique more. I'm trying to uh, get faster. But like Josh said earlier, it's just about the reps. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep getting better. And I think the more competitions I enter, the more I hang out with people like this, I'll just keep getting better at what I'm doing. And it translates really well into what I'm doing on my daily level as well, so my actual work. Because uh, when I come back from these competitions and I've seen the kind of quality and the kind of care that you guys put into your work, I can come back and translate all that into what I'm doing over here because I'm still new to this industry, so I'm still learning from everyone. It just is. The more I take part, it's better for me. That's how I go in with.
Rutger, you mentioned reps, and I don't think anybody put more reps in than Brian. Um, Chris, you're a close second. Don't get me wrong. Brian, can you talk a little bit about your mindset? And for those who don't know, Brian actually won the competition. I'm still waiting on my 5%. But anyway, Brian, talk a little bit about your mindset and the reps and what goes through your head during competition.
I definitely try to get some practice rounds in. Like Josh is saying, like you gotta do your reps, you gotta do your heats. But I do more. I do smaller heats these days. I do sets of three, sets of six. I don't do full sets. I do enough oysters every day at the restaurant. I don't need. Obviously doing these competition heats are different kind of shucking than at the restaurant. But I just do the smaller heats for practice mostly and try to figure out the oyster the best I can. Make sure my knife's good, my tip's good for the oysters we're opening because sometimes you got to modify your tool for the oysters a little bit. Sometimes you want a sharper point, sometimes you want a more rounded point. You know, sometimes a shorter knife, sometimes a longer knife. So it really depends. I do switch knives periodically. I switched knife 2 years ago, and I've been using it since. I've always used a short knife in the beginning, like a short knife, and then I went to a longer knife, and then I'm sort of like in between the longer and like a 4 inch and a 3 inch now. So I'm trying to find that happy median. I've only been competing if not too long, honestly, myself. I've been shucking a long time, but I've only been competing for I don't know. I started in 2017. So and then COVID shut down everything for a good 3 years. So
How did you know you was ready for the competition?
I've been, it's my third time there this year. So, the first time there I got 10th, which I mean, you got 10th, I got 10th last year at nationals. I mean, shit happens. So I try to do better the next year. So I got the third last year, which I was ecstatic. I didn't think I got third. So I was happy with it. I worked a little bit harder, figured out the oysters, got more of the oysters, practice more of the oysters and practice with different knives and trying to figure out what I needed. And, this year, I was doing my sets of threes and I had a few good sets of threes and I just walked away. I said, I'm good. I don't need no, I felt it, I felt like I was good. I felt like I popped three oysters were shucked, you know, as perfect as can be, and I just stepped away. I didn't, it's worse to overdo it, I think, in this because you overthink stuff, you overanalyze stuff, you're trying to figure out stuff, and like Ruptik said earlier, it's just shucking oysters. We all know how to shuck oysters. It's just 12 oysters, a dozen oysters. It's a minute right there. Like, come on, we all got it.
Brian, you were talking about going through blades, long blades, short blades. I want to talk to Chris for a little bit because he has, honestly, in my opinion, one of the more unique oyster knives, and it looks like it shouldn't work, but you make it happen. Can you talk a little bit about your oyster knife, Chris?
I use a Carolina oyster knife, and it tends to be a pretty short, pointy or kind of like uh pointy blade, but it's pretty round to start. Then for like a lot of the PI or like Canadian oysters, I tend to get a really sharp blade on it. And then because it's a shorter, pointier knife, when it comes to like some bigger, bulkier, like mid-Atlantic or Gulf oysters, I tend to sharpen it up quite a bit on the sides, and then once I'm done, I flatten the tip of it so it doesn't like break, because those big bulky oysters are really put a hurting on it. But yeah, it's not the most conventional knife, but it's something I was kind of forced into when I was younger, and then I became comfortable with it, so I just stood with it.
What was your favorite part of Canada?
I'd probably say, I have favorite parts. I got multiple favorite things. Honestly, the people are always really nice. The Shuckers are always really welcoming. I mean, the first time I went was in, I think, 18 to the Raspberry Point Invitational, and then I mean, like, all the Shuckers were really welcoming. They were looking at my technique. I was looking at their technique, and it was all just really cool. I mean, afterwards we like got to all hang out afterwards, and it's just like when we got done this time. It's like once you're done doing your dozen oysters, it's like it's all better now. So then everyone can relax and have fun and enjoy the time together. Um, and then it's just no different with them than it is with us in the U.S. We all know each other, and we start catching up a little bit. How's the family? How are the kids? How's life? So you get the same camaraderie over there with the Shuckers as you do here. Because they're all super nice people. And then honestly, the food's great up there. They have different things that are really strong over there, like potatoes and cheese and obviously mussels. So that's those are probably two of my favorite things up there, along with the weather not being like Florida weather, which is nice too to get rid of that heat for a bit.
Andy and I actually drove up from New York to Prince Edward Island, and I picked up Andy on the way. Uh, what a beautiful country to drive through all of it. And then when Jason took us around that night, that was something. Like I can't get over how beautiful everything is. I kept telling Shelly, Jason's wife, that I'm tired of saying, "Oh, that's so pretty. That's so pretty." It's just everything was that's so pretty, and I was like, I felt like an idiot saying that, but everything was just so beautiful. And that dinner at North Shore Canteen, oof, yeah, yeah. I don't know how to like, describe it. So um, I went. There's a place in Houston, Texas called Josephine's Gulf Coast, and it's similar. Like if I tell people, there's no, I can't tell you. Like there's no words I can use to describe the food. You have to just go there and experience it. That's the only way to eat that food. That's the only thing you do. So yeah.
Well, my favorite part about Canada was the oyster farm and learning knowledge. Brian dropping knowledge on me I didn't know. Uh, Jason taking us around, dropping knowledge. It was pretty cool. I mean, I love going out and learning things. That's makes trips wild. Just like, dude, you can't believe it's like, dude, that's really how they do it. It's cool. It's like tell you how this water changes this profile. I do want to thank everybody because I lost my luggage or my luggage got lost and everybody came together to give me an oyster knife, hoping I could make it through this. I do want to say I appreciate y'all. Oh, it was a little stressful there for a minute, but I did like the camaraderie. That's awesome. I mean, everybody comes together in tight times. It seems like at every competition. I've seen it at two or three different ones where somebody's knife broke in practice, and it's like, "Hey, I'm about to go on stage. You got a knife?" And it's like, "Yeah, here you go, bro." It's awesome how the oyster shucking community just comes together, no matter where you're at.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I think that's always going to be my favorite part about anything oyster related I do is the people, is the community, is the thoughtfulness, and I think how we make people a priority in our thoughtfulness. Like we want everybody to feel included. We want everybody to enjoy themselves, not be an outcast because everywhere we go, we are an outcast. Let's talk about oysters. Oh, get away from here. I'm tired of talking about oysters. But we
True.
never get tired of that. We never This is what we do. This is what we've dedicated our time and our mind and our abilities to is shucking oysters, talking about oysters, educating people about oysters. And it's just such a blessing to get around like-minded people. This is our Comic Con. This is our this is our family reunion. This is our community. And I think what we don't realize is we're building something bigger because every time we get together, people see us and they want to be part of what we are and what we're doing. So I want to thank all of you guys for being just balls of energy and positivity. And Andy is a part of this. Isabella is a part of this. Quincy is a part of this. I mean, it's tons of shuckers in the United States, but just far as they were part of this planning and strategy. I also want to give a huge shout out to Rutvick because you put a lot of heavy lifting in the planning and getting the Airbnb and making stuff happen, creating group chats and all of that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that too. I want to talk about next going forward, like Prince Edward Island going forward. What would y'all do different? Would y'all do anything differently?
What we did this time, we kind of just put it together out of nothing. Didn't really know what was gonna happen. With Brian's win, with Quincy coming in third, and us going there as a team like this, there is a lot of opportunity here. There are people who want to be involved. There's shuckers who want to be involved. There's brands that want to be involved. There is a actual opportunity here to create something larger than just what we did. And I think we should get more people involved and take this forward. So that's my take.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I also, of course, wanted to thank um everybody who donated. We had so many people who donated monetarily. They donated money so that we could make this trip really a success. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like whether we got donations or not, I was going. I was going. I'm not gonna miss it. But those donations helped take away some of the stress. And what does a lack of stress do to you on that stage? You know what I mean? You're not worrying about, I got to pay for this. Oh, my bank account is going to be, you're not worrying about any of that. So those supporters who poured into us, wow, thank you,
Can I
Andy
call
D.
out a few names?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
So there's Salty Soul Oyster Company, of course, in New Jersey. There's SIPA Oysters. There's This Girl Shucks in Connecticut. There's Big Tree Oysters in Texas. Fallen Pine Oyster Company in Maryland. Our friend Dan Varel. Um, there's our friend Leonard Goose from Philadelphia. Jody from Chicago. Maria from Philadelphia. I'm sure I'm missing out someone. Yeah, but that is the core list there right now. Uh, yeah, thank you. Thank you guys so much because it did help a lot with the living situation, the traveling situation. Yeah.
I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsor, Dat Cajun Place, for always sponsoring me for going to all my competitions. I got a great boss. They're awesome people. They're like a family. I've been working for them for 11 years, so they're great people. I love cooking, and that chop kitchen they set up competition, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I watched some of that. I love watching that stuff, man. I can sit there and watch that stuff for hours. But to get to watch it live and in person and watch them go head to head, that takes stress off of you right there.
I was gonna say chowder.
Chowder, yeah. Oh, the lobster rolls were phenomenal.
I didn't expect that much of a crowd to show up for the music. That was insane.
Yeah, to take a
Yeah,
picture and overlook that crowd was whoa. That's the biggest crowd I've ever shucked in front of.
Yeah, man, that was nerve-wracking.
there's something I want to say about the first thing you said, and it's a horrible time to say it now because we're already at the end. But the one thing that I don't think anybody said about like what we do as oyster shuckers is like we do, like we're like the golden rule of food. So like we treat others as we wish to be treated. So like the way we're supposed to do is like, I always tell people like shuck it as if you would eat it yourself. So you don't want to have the grit in there. You want to make sure it looks pretty. You don't want to have to make them work to get it off the bottom. So you ultimately treat every oyster as like, would I put that in my mouth? And you're not going to put a bunch of, I've had people I've trained before where, if they keep on making them dirty and I keep on getting on them about it, I'm like, hey, eat this oyster. And when they eat it, I'm like, do you taste all that grit? I'm like that's what you're giving to the customers. So I mean, I think that's really important that we are like, I guess the ultimate golden rule of treating people as we wish to be treated, with food. Shrimptoberfest is coming up. Woo woo.
Oktoberfest.
Heck
Remember
yeah.
Where's
October
that?
Oh man. So
5%.
other seafood restaurants have always, had their fest and stuff. I'm not saying what seafood restaurants they are. Some of them may be out of business or close to, but they would always have their things they'd put on TV. So I was like, man, screw that. I'm gonna put my own thing up. So I just made
Yeah.
Shrimptoberfest, and it's like now every year I just do Shrimptoberfest and I just push shrimp for a month.
Nice.
Hell yeah. That's
So
awesome, dude.
yeah.
Remember Shocktober, 5%.
Sharktober, yes, I'll give you 7% on that one.
Mhm.
I gotta say something. I have traveled a lot now and shucked a lot of places, and been fortunate enough to witness a lot of shucking culture across the country. And I thought I'd seen some of the Florida culture, but I was off. I need to visit you guys. I need to get involved more with you guys because that was some insane shucking. I've seen some fast shuckers. I thought I'd seen some of the fastest, but apparently not. So expect me to be down there soon. That was lovely meeting all of you. Thank you for
Yeah.
that invitation. Yeah.
What is the oyster culture in your community?
Down by us, I would say it's getting there. It's people are stuck in their old ways. The bigger the better the oyster. Yeah, we don't even bring in Gulf oysters right now. Like bringing mid-Atlantic oysters in for our char grilled, for steamed oysters, and then we're offering the James River as raw, but we're also offering the raw beauties from PEI as a raw oyster also for for the people that really like good oysters and not just a bigger oyster, so to speak. Something that actually has good taste, a decent quality, and it tastes like an oyster. That's what I think an oyster should taste like. It should have that salt and everything else. So where we have to educate a lot more people down here because it's not as big down here, especially down by us in Central Florida. We're 6 hours south of where Josh is basically. So they fucking breed oysters up there, his neck of the woods. We got to like educate people and tell them why they have to pay $2 an oyster sometimes, and they're they don't understand like $2 an oyster ain't that bad. I've seen
No.
$15 an oyster overseas in China. So like
Jesus.
I pay anything like for good oysters, good seafood. You pay good money for it, and that's just the way I look at it. And sometimes you get what you pay for with that stuff. Cheaper's not always better.
Yeah, over here where I'm at, we got a lot of farms. We're doing it all over. A lot of them coming out of Appalachia right now, trying to build up Appalachia's name again. But we're still educating people over here. We do a Louisiana oyster, and then we do like I came back home. We had the Malpac oyster, and I shuck a ton of those last night. Ooh, I was like, dang, I couldn't get enough of those. I feel like. And then we do like Alligator Harbor. We'll do just a couple bays in Alabama. We'll get Rattlesnake Cove. But I try to mainly do, and then we do West Bay. It's really like 30 minutes up the road. It's a little mom and pop farm. He brings them out every once in a while. I try to help out the mom and pop and local guys around me because there's a lot of little farms. They don't all have names. They're just good old boys bringing oysters in, trying to make it farming. Uh, and I mean, you do got to educate people because they're like, oh man, I want that big old Louisiana oyster. It's like, dude, this is buttery, salty, sweet. it's gonna change, blow your mind. And then, I mean, you'll let them try one of each, and um, you got about 75-25. That old guy's still gonna be like, man, I like that big one. I just feel like I get more bang for my buck. I'm like, come on, brother. But that other one was really good. I get that a lot, and it's like, dude, you don't know what you're missing. And then you got the ones, the younger crowd that have like been around, and they're like, oh, you got these oysters? Oh man, I can't wait. You know, they've educated themselves, or you've already educated them, or they're like, hey, you got these this week? You got these today? And I mean, we ask because we always try to have a top notch oyster for the raw, and just do the Louisiana or Texas for our baked oysters.
I'll um I'll knock off the rest of Florida real quick because I know we've already gone two of them already. Brian and Josh said a lot of it. A lot of people just, the bigger the better. That's how they always felt, and a lot of it's re-educating. But we've brought in oysters before where like they have a buttery finish on a raw oyster, and it's like, hey, you want to taste butter on a raw oyster? Try this oyster right here. Because there's something out there besides just something's been sitting in the bottom of the bay, and they rake out of there or dredge out of there or whatever they do. But yeah, I mean, we pretty much, I mean, you can ask Brian. I mean, we've hardly touched Gulf oysters in the past like 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's just there's just the mortality rate's not the best at times, especially in the summer. The winter is obviously a lot better. Texas had a really good salty year this last year. They were great. Um, but yeah, it's definitely an education for people, and they're getting there. It's one of those things like a slowly but surely situation where, as people see it and they try it, I always tell people it's just like a steak. There's a fillet and there's a sirloin. And or the sirloin may be a lot bigger. Doesn't mean it's going to be better. The fille's probably going to be better. But to each their own, and so it's just we just like to have the options there for them, let them know what's there, and usually, if I serve both of them to people, like I served both of them the other day to somebody, and I shucked 3 dozen of the Virginia oysters, and they wanted to try two of the Canadian ones. I said, listen, eat all these Virginia oysters first and eat those Canadian oysters last. I said, because you're not going to enjoy those Virginia ones nearly as much if you try the Canadian one first. And that's just realistic. So
I tell people the same thing. They're like Canadian oysters. I'm like, dude, you do not know what you're missing. It's like, wow.
I guess I'm in a very unique, a different situation, I guess. New York oyster culture is, I don't get many of those big ones at all ever. I have to go looking for them because now that I know what those big ones offer, the here raw culture is great. So I get oysters from all over, but I don't get those big oysters that I can put stuff on and dress them up to flavor them the way I want. So I actually go looking for bigger oysters and try feeding people bigger oysters. So I'm not having an opposite problem, but oysters are New York. There's no trouble getting rid of oysters. People are eating oysters all the year long, like all the time, although it's just on. But unfortunately, if you came to New York and you asked me where you should go for oysters, there's probably not many places I can recommend. I'd probably say come to my house.
There you go.
But it's fortunate. I'm very fortunate. When there's a Fulton Fish Market, there's Greenpoint Fish and Lobster, there's Aquabest, there's a bunch of farms in Long Island, Connecticut. Everything's within reach. Everything's easy to get. I can get oysters from Hama Hama on the West Coast delivered easily. It's a good place to be for oysters, definitely. If you want to serve oysters, if you know what you want to serve and how to get it. And like I showed Brian a list from one of my distributors the other day. There's just so much stuff available. So yeah, that's the New York culture for you. It's just everything's available. You just got to make sure you shuck it right and serve it right, which is missing sort of.
Washington, D.C., oyster culture. I would say I have no clue. I'm not connected to the DC oyster scene, but I would feel like I have my own scene that I project. So I kind of create the scene that I want it to be. Think of the Oyster Ninja. I want you to think of, oh, I can go to him for educational classes. I can go to him for mobile oyster bar needs or consulting. I can go to him for recommendations, but even my recommendations are going to be more so for festivals like the Oyster Riot, or I know that Old Abbott has a late night happy hour. I would say for the listeners, for the new listeners, you probably don't know that I don't really eat a lot of oysters, but in Prince Edward Island, I ate the most oysters I think in one sitting that I've ever ate. Almost probably like 2 dozen, a dozen and a half, 2 dozen, and I really loved them. Um, but yeah, I would definitely say DC has a good oyster scene. I'm not gonna downplay it, because I would definitely say without. I don't think if I was anywhere else, it would have been as easy for me to start my business and kind of cultivate it. I feel like I would make it happen, but I feel like I came to DC the right time, the right place. I started at Rapanic Oyster Bar, who really cared about oysters. They cared about presentation. They cared about education, and I kind of just fell in place and kind of got in line, and then kind of took what they taught me and elaborated on it. There's just going to be restaurants who care, and there's going to be some places who just want to push oysters, you know? They don't even want to be known as a raw bar, oyster bar. They just want to sell anything. I've been in those places. It's not fun as a shucker. It's not fun being the person who cares the most and get paid the least. You know, it's no fun in that. So I would say to all my future oyster shuckers and people who are in the oyster community, cultivate the space that you want to be in. Don't just get along and do as told. You know, do what you got to do, but cultivate.
Um,
All right.
so a couple of weeks ago, I don't know when it was, but I jumped on one of Brian's streams, and I had him sign a shell for me, and he wrote the future. Like he wrote a shell that says PEI, here we come, we're gonna take it home, and he took it home. Shit, congratulations again, man.
Manifestation, bro. Manifestation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations, bro.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
Well, I want to thank all you gentlemen for your time, first of all, and it was great being in Prince Edward Island, Canada, together. Of course, we're missing Andy and we're missing Jason, but I'm glad y'all can make it,
Quincy.
honestly.
Quincy, yeah,
And
Quincy.
Quincy, sorry, yep, and Quincy. But until the next time, I hope it's sooner than later. But I wish y'all peace and safe travels.